A proposed hike in protection for bank depositors in Hong Kong. The Ombudsman blames the lack of clarity and responsibility among government departments for delays in handling tree-related complaints. And in Thailand, the leader of Move Forward Party fails in his initial bid to become the next prime minister. Hello and welcome to TVB News. The Hong Kong Deposit Protection Board has suggested that the upper limit of protection offered to bank depositors be raised from $500,000 to $800,000. The proposal will likely take effect in 2025. A public consultation period which started today will last until October 12th. Veronica Lin tells us more.
To strengthen the protection of small depositors in Hong Kong and maintain the stability of the banking system, the Deposit Protection Board launched a public consultation on the enhancement of the deposit protection scheme. The board proposed that for each bank and depositor, the amount of compensation each client can receive will be raised from 500,000 to 800,000 Hong Kong dollars in the event of a bank failure. That includes depositors' money in Hong Kong dollars and in foreign currencies. The protection rate for depositors in Hong Kong will then go up from 89% to 92%. The real value of deposit protection will be up 21% to keep up with inflation. Today, the board explained why it had capped the protection limit at $800,000.
We were trying to strike a balance between increasing the level of protection and maintaining a reasonable cost, especially the cost imposed to the banking sector through collecting more levy to satisfy the funding needs of the scheme.
To cope with the higher insured amount, a proposal to charge members of the deposit protection scheme under a levy system, with the rates kept unchanged. In addition, the protection arrangement and appeal mechanism in the event of a bank merger have also been revised. Since the beginning of this year, numerous regional banks in the U.S. have shut down, and the banking crisis further escalated when Credit Suisse was taken over by UBS. Authorities said from 2006, none of the banks in Hong Kong have collapsed, and that the financial safety net is fairly stable. Meanwhile, financial services sector lawmaker Robert Lee said, regardless of the depositor, there must be a fee for using banking services. The most important thing, he said, is to show depositors and global investors that their deposits are well protected. Veronica Lin, TVB News.
The Ombudsman found the lack of clarity and responsibility among government departments has delayed the handling of some tree-related complaints. Among them, the Lands Department once saw a backlog of more than 2,000 complaints, with some cases left unaddressed for months. In Tai Po last year, this toppled tree struck and killed a man. Last month, a 12-meter tall tree in Tsim Sha Tsui collapsed onto this car, leaving the driver injured. The city's ombudsman now trying to get to the root of the tree problem. Currently, different government departments take care of trees based on where the trees are located. The Development Bureau's Tree Management Office assumes a role of supervision and assistance. The Ombudsman's direct investigation report found disagreements often ensue over which department is responsible for certain complaints. Such confusion in bailiwicks affected around 1,100 cases a year, accounting for 3 to 6% of complaints. Under the current protocol, if a government department receives a complaint perceived to fall outside its purview, within 7 working days, the department should submit a preliminary report to the government central hotline 1823 and refer the case to the Tree Management Office. The government watchdog found some departments failed to redirect such complaints within the 7-day time frame. One case waited 195 days before a referral was made. That particular case was handled within 5 days when taken on by the Tree Management Office. The Ombudsman also found the Lands Department failed to handle more than 2,000 complaints between December 2021 and March last year. One case only received a reply after more than a year.
For the Lands Department, I think because it is responsible for all the unallocated land and unused land in Hong Kong, which is about 1/3 of all the land in Hong Kong. So there are a vast number of trees distributed in different areas, including some remote areas. So there are difficulties in terms of the overall management.
To address that, the Ombudsman suggests mechanisms be introduced for the Tree Management Office to step in when tree-related complaints are not handled in time. National Security Police have reportedly searched the home of activist Derek Lam this morning. Lam used to be a committee member of the now-defunct political group Demosisto. Sources say officers went to Lam's apartment in Sai Ying Pun, searched the premises, and questioned him. No arrests were made. Lam was asked whether he had offered financial aid to the self-exiled Demosisto founder Nathan Law, who is being wanted by the police. Earlier, Law's family was also taken in for a question by National Security Police. So far, 5 ex-members of Demosisto have been arrested for allegedly supporting Nathan Law financially through gains from an online shopping platform. The Security Bureau has slammed Democratic Party Chairman Low Kin-hei for misleading readers in a newspaper commentary. Low's article criticized the security chief's remarks about recent knife attacks. Low's opinion piece was published in Main Pao today. Last Wednesday, Secretary for Security Chris Tang asked the public to alert the police if they come across people who are mumbling or have strange expressions or show aggressive tendencies. Low says that could deepen the stigma and public misunderstanding towards mental illnesses. The Security Bureau hit back, saying Low took Tang's words out of context and was distorting his remarks. The second Chief Executive's interactive exchange question and answer session was held in the Legislative Council today. This time, lawmakers and the CE discussed issues such as boosting culture and tourism, as well as emergency response safety. Sharon Tang reports.
Today's discussion, like the previous one, was based on the report from the 20th National Congress of the Communist Party of China. Lawmaker Vincent Chang asked if there are ways to better merge the city's culture and tourism.
To group together with cities in the GBA so there can be multi-destinations in one tour, I think this is worthy of further exploration. For instance, in the Greater Bay Area. Now, I like Kung Fu. I can go to Fushan and Chaozhou, and there is the ancient city.
Some suggested letting higher-ranking officials to coordinate the Culture Commission.
We focus on the cultural people, can finance, logistics, and traditional art, I&T people can work together to contribute to this sector. Yes, it is a good thing, but I have to strengthen the ownership of individual bureaus so that they can be more involved. So high-level task force chaired or coordinated by the CS4A or Deputy CS4A will be set up when the need arises.
The chief executive also plans to set up a joint emergency response system with the Greater Bay Area.
Now, there are differences in the legal systems of the three places, how to make sure that they won't affect rescue efforts. Zhenzhen Bay, say if unfortunately there's a major fire already, there is a joint firefighting plan in place that is a rescue first before notification. Say there is certain equipment that must meet certain legal requirements before they can come to Hong Kong. We will prepare a list mechanism.
Lee added he hopes patriots can continue solving the city's problems with a creative mindset. Sharon Tang, TVB News.
Thailand's Pita Limjaroenrat failed this evening in his initial bid to become Thailand's next prime minister, after he was unable to secure the required endorsement of more than half the bicameral parliament. There will be another vote on July 19th, or another candidate will be put forward by his coalition party. This follows a nationwide election in May where the Thai people clearly rejected a decade-long military-backed rule under Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha. Tracy Furness reports.
Thailand's prime ministerial hopeful, Pita Limjaroenrat, leader of the Move Forward party, was the only candidate nominated on Thursday, having been the surprise winner of the people's vote and winning the most seats in the House of Representatives in May. As he entered Parliament ahead of the vote, he told reporters, "I will do my best to live up to the hope and support that the people have given me." His Move Forward party won 151 out of 500 House of Representatives seats, and the 42-year-old formed an 8-party coalition with a combined 312 seats, a healthy majority.
This is a party leading a coalition, and they've won the elections. In most other countries, they would be in office by now.
Pita supporters took to the streets Wednesday ahead of the Senate vote today, holding signs that read, "Respect my vote." Pita faced a 6-hour debate with the House of Representatives and the 250-seat Senate, whose members are handpicked by the military-backed regime. Pita needed a minimum of 375 votes to become head of the government, or more than half of the 749 members of the lower and upper houses to vote for him. One bone of contention between the progressive Move Forward party and the conservative Senate is the campaign pledge of Pita's party to amend a law that makes defaming the royal family punishable by 3 to 15 years in prison. But on Wednesday, the Election Commission said it concluded there was evidence that Pita had violated election law and referred his case to the Constitutional Court for a ruling. The violation involves undeclared ownership of media company shares, which are banned for lawmakers. If the court accepts the case and finds him guilty, Pita would lose his House seat and face a prison sentence. But guilty or not, the allegation was enough to raise doubts in the minds of lawmakers voting for the next Prime Minister of the country. Tracy Furness, TVB News.
The NATO summit wrapped up in the Lithuanian capital, Vilnius, with member countries vowing continued support for Ukraine in its war against Russia. But they stopped short of inviting Ukraine to become a NATO member. Instead, the group of 7 countries created a platform for Kyiv to negotiate bilateral agreements with each G7 nation. In addition to the formation of a new NATO-Ukraine Council, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky was happy to have at least received security pledges from the alliance. Nasvi Karim with more.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky came stomping into the NATO summit in Lithuania, holding a shopping list with membership top of his demands, only to be told firmly by the UK that we are not Amazon. In the end, the promises he received were almost as good as being part of the military alliance, and Zelensky had to be satisfied with strong security pledges from the United States and European allies. The group of 7 industrialized countries also launched a framework for bilateral negotiations to provide military and financial support. This means Kyiv can negotiate agreements with G7 countries, the United States, Britain, Canada, France, Germany, Italy and Japan. The newly created NATO-Ukraine Council also provides Ukraine a platform to connect with the 31 NATO member countries. These are all bridges leading to NATO, with US President Joe Biden telling Zelensky during their Vilnius meeting that actual membership for now is irrelevant.
We will not waver. We will not waver. I mean that. Our commitment to Ukraine will not weaken. We will stand for liberty and freedom today, tomorrow, and for as long as it takes.
Zelensky adopted a more conciliatory tone after previously describing as absurd NATO's failure to provide a timetable for Ukraine membership. He thanked Britain after UK Defence Minister Ben Wallace suggested he show more gratitude for the tens of billions of dollars already provided by many countries. With Russia warning of World War III should Ukraine join NATO, Alliance Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg remained defiant.
And therefore we can never allow that Moscow starts to decide who can or who cannot be a member of NATO. Russia has been against every enlargement of NATO. It's for NATO allies and for Ukraine to decide when to become a member. Moscow doesn't have a veto on that.
Meanwhile, Turkey's President Recep Tayyip Erdogan said Sweden's NATO membership will not be ratified by his country's parliament until around October, when lawmakers return from an autumn break. Turkey was the last hurdle to Sweden's entry, with Erdogan announcing before the summit that Ankara would remove all obstacles. Nazvi Karim, TVB News.
Still ahead. The identity of the BBC presenter at the center of a sex scandal revealed. The catering sector offers another round of discounts this Sunday. And the Fanling Golf Course will be loaned to the Hong Kong Golf Club to organize 2 upcoming international tournaments. Welcome back. The identity of the BBC presenter at the center of a sex scandal has been revealed by his wife. Hugh Edwards has been named as the man accused of paying a teenage girl $45,000 for explicit photos. Neither Edwards nor his wife nor the BBC has denied the allegation. Edwards is in hospital amid fears over his mental health. The police say it is not a criminal matter. David Garrett reports.
Hugh Edwards, the man everyone in the UK has been talking about but dare not name. The BBC refused to unmask the man at the centre of a sex scandal because of worries it may infringe privacy laws. Politicians have commented on the crisis for the public service broadcaster. The age of sexual consent in the UK is 16, but images of someone under 18 can be considered as child pornography. The girl was 17 when the Sun newspaper says Edwards began paying her. The young woman involved said through her lawyer that Edwards had done nothing wrong. The Metropolitan Police said it would take no further action on Wednesday. 10 minutes later, Edwards' wife announced her husband was the man in question.
I have every sympathy with Hugh Edwards' wife, Vicky Flynn, and her very dignified statement. It's extremely hard when you're under severe media pressure to act in a way which is both properly informative and dignified.
Flynn said she was naming Hugh Edwards out of concern for his mental health. She cited previous problems with depression and says he is now receiving inpatient hospital care. Edwards has worked for the BBC for nearly 40 years, the presenter of state occasions, from Trooping the Colour to the state opening of Parliament, for 2 decades. He's the #1 current affairs presenter and the highest paid BBC news broadcaster with an annual salary of $500,000. The tabloids say the publicly funded corporation still has questions to answer. What did the BBC know? Why didn't the BBC investigate when the young person's parents complained to them in May? What is the BBC going to do now everyone knows?
It is not a BBC scandal. It so happens that Hugh works at the BBC in one of the most high-profile positions. But that's not the BBC's fault. They've done nothing wrong other than to turn this into some kind of BBC investigation issue, which was wholly misguided.
Some say the BBC's image is tarnished and respect lost for their most trusted anchor, while others are concerned about Edwards' mental well-being and that of his family after being at the centre of a media maelstrom. David Garrett, TVB News.
Senior diplomat Wang Yi said China will continue to deepen the comprehensive strategic partnership with ASEAN. Wang said this while attending an ASEAN meeting in Jakarta. He also said China and ASEAN are actively promoting the negotiation of the Free Trade Agreement version 3.0 and pushing for the full implementation of the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership. The RCEP is the world's largest trade bloc backed by China. It took effect in January last year and groups 15 Asia-Pacific economies, including Australia and Japan, as well as all 10 member states of ASEAN. Wang held talks with U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken at the summit. Wang also met with Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov. The top diplomats of ASEAN already met earlier this week before their Asian and Western counterparts join them today and tomorrow. Back locally, the catering sector is rolling out yet another series of promotions this Sunday, with selected items at 29% off. The discount is a play on the number 71 or July 1st. Over 1,500 eateries will participate in the event, hundreds more than those on July 1st. Catering sector lawmaker Tommy Chung said the event was prompted by the overwhelming response they received on July 1st. The government's second installment of the $2,000 consumption vouchers will also be dispersed on Sunday. After the Fanling Golf Course is returned to the government in September, the site will be loaned to the Hong Kong Golf Club to organize 2 international tournaments. The government said it is to support major sporting events held in Hong Kong. One of the events to be hosted in the 32-hectare site is the Saudi Arabia-backed Aramco Team Series in early October. Secretary for Culture, Sports and Tourism Kevin Yeung said after the international tournaments end around December, facilities in the golf site such as walking trails and an inclusive park for pets will open in phases to the public. And that's the news. Thank you for watching.